Have you ever like wanted to speak English fluently, but you just freeze up, you know?
Oh, yeah, totally. I
Yeah.
think we've all been there.
I know it happens to me all the time, but today we're looking at this guide and it says it's going to give us all the secrets to speaking English easily.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool guide. It really like gets into like the mental stuff um, that keeps us from, speaking fluently.
Yeah, so it all starts with this idea of like thinking in English,
Right.
but how do you even start to like rewire your brain to do that,
Well, you can think of it like this. Your brain's like a computer.
right?
And every time you're translating from your native language to English, it's like running like an extra program
Ooh,
and it slows everything down.
I see.
But if you can start thinking in English, it's like you get rid of that program and your thoughts can just flow.
That makes sense, I guess. But
Yeah.
how do you actually make that like switch?
Well, it's definitely a process.
Mm.
But this guide has some really easy techniques.
Okay.
One that they talk about is the describe your day technique. So instead of thinking, I'm going to have breakfast, you'd think, I am going to have breakfast, but in English.
Oh, so you're like narrating your life, but in English,
Exactly.
even if it's just in your head.
Yeah. And you start to create that like English speaking mindset.
Okay. I can see how that might work, but it still sounds kind of hard.
Well, the trick is to just start small.
Okay.
They suggest just picking like one time during the day.
Yeah. Like when?
Like maybe when you're making coffee or walking to work and just like describe what you're doing
Oh,
in English.
that's a good idea. Actually, I could see myself doing that. Yeah. Like giving my thoughts a whole makeover.
Exactly.
It's making me realize like how much I could already be describing in English.
Right.
But I think a lot of people, myself included, might get stuck when it comes to like vocabulary.
Well, that's where the next step comes in. You got to build up that vocabulary.
Okay, so how do you do that without like memorizing a dictionary?
Yeah, you don't have to do that.
Okay, good.
The guide says just focus on like the most important words.
Okay, so what are those?
Well, they say to learn 5 new words a day.
5.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like much,
Yeah.
but that's like 150 new words every month.
Wow, that's true. I didn't think about it like that.
Yeah, so they give you some examples like excited, nervous, decide, things like that.
Those are really good ones. I use those all the time.
Exactly. So think about the conversations you have every day and think about what words you need to use, like to explain your thoughts.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It's like baiting a toolbox or something.
Yeah, I like
You would
that.
have the right tools.
The job.
Right. And in this case, the job is speaking English.
Exactly.
So this is already making me rethink how I learn new words.
Yeah,
It's not about learning the most words, it's about learning the right words.
and making them stick.
Right.
And for that, they talk about something called spaced repetition.
Okay, what's that?
So that's when you revisit words like not all at once,
Okay.
but you space it out over time so it really gets into your memory.
Yeah. So it's like giving your brain little reminders.
Exactly. And they also talk about using mnemonic devices.
What are those?
They're basically just memory tricks,
Oh.
like to help you remember new words.
So what would be an example of that?
Well, say you're trying to learn the word opportunity.
Yeah.
You can imagine like a big door labeled opportunity,
Okay.
and you're knocking on it.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. It sounds silly, but it works.
Yeah.
It makes it more memorable.
It's more interesting than just like staring at a flashcard.
Exactly.
Okay, so we're thinking in English and we've got our vocabulary toolbox.
Yeah.
But there's one more thing.
What's that?
Pronunciation.
Yeah, pronunciation is super important.
Yeah, that's like the bridge between your thoughts and actually speaking.
Exactly. And they have a really cool technique for that called shadowing.
Shadowing. What is that? Like someone follows you around and like whispers the right way to say things?
Not quite, but it's kind of like that.
Okay.
So you find a video or an audio clip of a native speaker and you listen to them say a sentence
Okay.
and then you pause it
Yeah.
and you repeat the sentence and you try to sound exactly like them.
Oh, so you're like copying them.
Yeah, basically.
I used to do that with movies and TV shows.
Oh yeah, that's a great way to practice.
I would repeat lines that I liked and try to sound like the actors.
Yeah, that's perfect.
I can see how that would help.
Yeah, and the cool thing about shadowing is you're not just learning how to say the words.
What else are you learning?
We're learning like the rhythm and the music of English.
Oh, okay. So you sound more natural. So
Uh,
what kind of stuff should you use for shadowing?
You can use anything you're interested in.
Really?
Yeah, like podcasts, audiobooks, TED Talks.
As long as it's a native speaker.
Yeah, find something you like and it won't even feel like work.
Okay, cool. So do you have like an example of something we could try?
I do, actually. I have this little clip from a podcast.
Okay, let's hear it.
Okay, here it is.
Okay, that was a good example. I think I can do that.
Try it. There you go. You see how you're not just focusing on the individual words, but like the whole flow of the sentence.
Yeah, it's like I'm training my tongue to move the right way.
Exactly. And the more you do it, the more natural it'll become.
I like that. Okay, so we've covered a lot, but there's one thing that I think a lot of people still struggle with.
What's that?
Fear.
Oh, yeah.
Even if you know the words and the pronunciation, it can be really scary to actually speak.
Absolutely. Fear can be a huge roadblock.
So how do you get past that?
Well, the guide actually talks about that as the next step.
Oh, perfect. So let's talk about fear.
Let's do it.
So how do we, actually get over that fear and start talking?
Well, the guide says that making mistakes is, totally normal.
Yeah.
It's part of learning.
Okay, but it's still scary.
I know, but they say you should try to, change your mindset.
Oh, do you mean?
Instead of, being afraid of making mistakes, you should see them as, chances to learn.
So it's more about, the process, not just, being perfect. Okay, yeah, that makes sense, but it's still hard to, put yourself out there, you know?
Yeah, I get that. That's why they say it's so important to, find people you can practice with.
So like a language partner or something?
Yeah, or a group where you can just talk freely and not feel judged.
Oh, that would be nice.
Right.
It would be nice to not feel like I have to be perfect all the time.
Yeah, and there are tons of places you can find people to practice with.
Like where?
Like you could join a language exchange group,
Right.
or find a tutor, or even just talk to your colleagues in English.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
It's all about finding ways to just use English in your everyday life.
The more you use it, the better you get right.
Exactly.
I like this guide. It's really making me rethink how I approach learning.
Me too.
It's not just about studying, it's about living it.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the next step?
This one might surprise you.
Okay, what is it?
They say you gotta listen more to speak better.
Wait, so if I want to speak better, I should just listen.
Yeah, it sounds weird, but it makes sense.
How so?
When you listen to native speakers, you're not just hearing the words.
Okay.
You're also picking up on their pronunciation,
Yeah.
how they put sentences together, the rhythm of the language.
So it's like absorbing the language.
Exactly. You're kind of immersing yourself in it.
I get it. It's like when you listen to a song a lot,
Yeah.
you start to know the melody and the lyrics without even trying.
Yeah. And the more you listen to English, the more natural you'll sound when you speak it.
So it'll just kind of come out.
Yeah, that's the goal.
So what should I listen to?
Anything you like, really.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they suggest podcasts, audiobooks, movies, TV shows.
There are so many options.
I know, right?
As long as it's in English.
Exactly. And they say to actively engage with what you're listening to.
What do you mean by that?
Pause it and repeat phrases.
Oh, okay. So I'm shadowing.
Yeah, exactly.
I can see how that would help.
It helps you really pay attention.
Okay. This is really making me think differently about learning English.
Yeah, it's a whole new way of looking at it.
It's not just about textbooks and grammar rules. It's about experiencing the language.
Exactly. And that brings us to the last step.
Okay, I'm ready. What is it?
Practice speaking every day.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
But they give you a cool way to do that.
Oh, what's that?
It's called the speaking challenge.
A challenge. Okay, tell me more.
So you basically set a goal for yourself.
Okay.
Maybe you'll speak English for 5 minutes every day.
Oh, okay.
Or have a conversation with a language partner twice a week.
I like that it's like a game.
Yeah, exactly. And it keeps you motivated.
I'm challenging myself to speak more.
Right. And they say to start small.
Okay.
And then as you get better, you can make the challenge harder.
So what would be a good challenge for me?
Well, it depends what you like to do.
True.
If you like to cook, you could describe your recipes in English.
Oh, that's a good one.
Or if you're preparing for a job interview, you could practice answering interview questions.
Yeah, those are good ideas.
And they have one more tip.
Okay, what is it?
They say to record yourself speaking.
Ooh, that's scary.
I know, it can be, but it's really helpful.
Why?
Because then you can listen back
Okay.
and hear what you sound like.
And then I can hear my mistakes.
Yeah, exactly. And you can also hear the things you're doing well.
So I can see what I need to work on.
Right. And you can also see how much you've improved over time.
Okay. Yeah, that's motivating.
Right.
Okay, so we started with thinking in English, and now we're ending with hearing ourselves speak it.
Yeah, it's a whole journey.
This guide has been really helpful.
It's given us so many great ideas.
I feel like we've really learned a lot.
Yeah, it's been a good deep dive.
I think the biggest thing for me is how it changes your whole way of thinking about learning English.
Yeah, it's not just about the rules anymore. It's more about creating the right environment.
Yeah, it's like growing a plant or something.
Oh, I like that.
You got to plant the seed and then give it what it needs to grow.
Yeah, Exactly.
So just like a plant takes time to grow, fluency takes time too.
Definitely. It's a journey.
But this guide gave us a pretty good map, I think.
It did. We talked about a lot of good stuff.
Maybe we should recap it quickly.
Yeah, good idea.
Okay, so step 1, think in English.
Right.
Step 2, build your vocabulary.
Then we talked about shadowing for pronunciation.
Don't be afraid to speak.
Yeah, embrace those mistakes.
And listen.
So much good stuff out there.
And last but not least, practice every day.
Make it a challenge.
I really like that idea of a speaking challenge.
Me too. It's a fun way to stay motivated.
And the best part is you can see yourself getting better.
You can track your progress.
This has been a really inspiring deep dive.
Yeah, I feel like I'm ready to go out and speak English now.
Me too. Well, I think that's about all the time we have for today.
Yeah, it flew by.
But before we go, I want to hear from you. What was your favorite tip from this episode?
What are you going to try out?
Yeah, let us know in the comments below. And until next time, keep practicing and keep learning.
You got this.